Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm really excited to talk to you about something that I talk to a lot of my health coaching clients about and always ask this question with them when they are getting started with me, and that is, what is your stress on a level of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest? And then also, what are your sleep habits like? Are they good? Are they bad? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your sleep habits? And then from those questions, we really tackle helping them figure out how to repair their sleep habits and also how to get their stress levels down. Because let's face it, who in America does not have high stress? Maybe any given day, any given week, doesn't matter. We are putting stress on our body whether we know it or not, because our bodies do not differentiate between good stress and bad stress. So even exercise is considered stressful to the body. When we're told we won the lottery, that's, even though it's good news, it's still providing stress, and cortisol is being released into our body. And then also, of course, we know the kind of stress that when you hear the word stress, you think, yeah, stress at work, money stress, stress with your kids. Maybe you're in school and you have stress from having to finish a paper, that kind of stress we're all too familiar with. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about that and show you a PowerPoint that I put together. It's just going to be really short, but it does explain how this whole stress curve works, and maybe you're going to be able to identify with one of those curves, and then through knowing and acknowledging that you're on one of those curves, being able to go ahead and get that fixed. And now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't cure, prevent, or treat any of your stress diseases, but I am just here to educate you tonight and give you some things to maybe think about and to talk to your doctor about. And also, if you're seeking natural means for helping yourself, because maybe you feel like you're on a trajectory that's not going in a good spot with regards to stress, then maybe I can help you in some regards to your nutritional strategies to overcome that stress. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to look at my PowerPoint. All right. Oh, wait. We need to go back to the beginning here. All right. How many of you can relate to this lady right here? No, I know I can, or I used to be able to relate to her. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this would be me. I felt like I needed a nap every single day. And as you can tell from this picture, she's drinking at least 3 cups or 4 cups of coffee to keep her awake. And so it's no wonder that there's a lot of donut, cupcake shops and coffee shops jumping up all over the place in and around our world, because that is how people oftentimes deal with stress. They're dealing with it by eating more sugar and caffeinating themselves, because that is the quick fix. But unfortunately, it's not the ultimate fix, and we tend to have a crash after having sugar or having caffeine. And we know that if you drink caffeine well into the afternoon, evening, you're probably not going to go to sleep. And since sleep and stress go hand in hand, we need to make sure you're getting sleep. So making sure that you're regulating the amount of caffeine that you're eating or drinking and consuming, and same with sugar. And we'll talk more about some of those strategies here in a little bit. But with regards to your stress curve, let's look at that just a little bit. So here's a cortisol curve, and when cortisol levels are high, first of all, we rely on cortisol to regulate a lot of things in our body. Regulates hormones, it helps regulate our immune system. It's a really good hormone to have, don't get me wrong, but when cortisol is going rogue and it's not doing the correct curve that it's supposed to be doing, then we actually have disease in our body. So you can see from this picture here that the blue curve is exactly what we need to see. We need to see a natural cortisol rise in the morning and a natural fall of that cortisol in the afternoon. So it's like climbing the mountain, then going down the ski hill, right? So that's exactly what we need to see. But in this picture, this is a person who has a high early morning cortisol level rise. So if you can relate to this, maybe you're rarely sleeping through the night. You might be that type of person whose mind is racing the moment you wake up, or maybe you wake up with something on your mind because you can't stop thinking about something going on. You might be edgy and confrontational in the morning, and your energy crashes and burns sometime around mid-morning. So if this is you and you can relate to that, then we do have help for you. But let's go on to the next cortisol curve. This one is for the person whose cortisol levels are super low in the morning but really high in the evening. So for this person, they oftentimes are having a really hard time falling asleep because they find it impossible to, because their cortisol levels are too high. They're those night owls that tend to get more done in the evening, but in the morning when they wake up, they have to have 3 cups of coffee just to get up out of bed. So they tend to be more argumentative in the evening, and they oftentimes have to distract themselves with a lot of reading or watching TV or finding ways to distract their brain in the evening to help them go to sleep. All right, next person. All right, who can relate to this? This type of person is someone who goes to work and has some sort of stress response soon after getting to work. So, or school or something causes their stress level to stay high and get high and then stay elevated throughout the day. So people who are on some sort of deadline, there's some sort of environmental toxicity in their environment all day long, whether that's people in their environment or an environmental toxicity they can't seem to avoid. And this type of person feels like they're always got a deadline and a schedule they can't seem to catch up to. They're always exhausted, but they're hyper at the same time. They're a type of people who also tend to talk really fast, and they're easily irritated and oftentimes don't feel much enthusiasm for getting anything done. And the last one, one that you definitely don't want to be, is that flatline cortisol curve. That means your adrenals are no longer producing a whole lot of cortisol, and that's because they're extremely adrenal fatigued. And this is definitely a bad place to be. This is a type of person that obviously when they wake up in the morning are dragging, and they can't seem to get any energy throughout the day at all, ever. And they go to bed completely exhausted, and they just can never seem to catch up or get any kind of like emotional energy, increase in energy at all throughout the day. So this type of person is always drinking caffeine, eating sugar, and trying to do anything that can boost their energy at all. But this type of person also can fall asleep just like that, and are typically super tired, yawning throughout the day and falling asleep in meetings and that kind of thing. So this cortisol curve is actually quite dangerous, and these type of people do need to see a doctor to get help and make sure that they are getting on maybe a whole regimen, a routine and change. But let's talk about fixing the problem, because it's a lot of things go into fixing this problem, and it's going to take some time. So it probably took you a lot of time to get there, and it's going to take some time to reverse the problem. So whatever your curve is and wherever you are, the only way to know exactly where you are is to get a saliva test done, by the way, and to see where your cortisol curve is. So what they do is a saliva test done throughout the day, and you give it to your doctor, and then they give you back what your curve looks like. And so knowing what it is important so that you can know how to fix it. Because in fixing the problem, one of those ways we can fix it is through a concept called carb cycling. And so when we eat carbohydrates, our cortisol levels actually decrease. So for someone on a super low carb diet, they might find themselves in a predicament like the person that was in the high rise in the morning and high rise throughout the day kind of curve. So that person that was in the, I'll show you, go back to it, this type of cortisol curve number 3 might be somebody who's on a low carb diet all the time. So when we eat carbohydrates, and I'm talking only the good carbs, not the sugary carbs, but the low glycemic vegetables, some fruits that are low glycemic, like a sweet potato, brown rice, quinoa, those kind of good carbs, then our cortisol levels will actually go down. So if we carb cycle by eating a little bit less carbs in the morning, a little bit more of a moderate carb intake midday, and then higher carbs in the evening when we want our cortisol levels to decrease, then that might be one way you guys can help your cortisol curve if it's something that you've been on a low carb diet for a long time and you just feel stressed all the time and can't seem to get to bed and that kind of thing. Is maybe just have some good old carbohydrates right before you go to sleep and see if that helps. Okay, another way is to supplement with good omega-3s and vitamin C and your B vitamins. So all of these have been shown in scientific literature to actually decrease cortisol levels in the body. And so highly recommend that. In a 2010 study that was done from the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition, healthy subjects who took 2,400 milligrams of fish daily for 6 weeks lowered morning cortisol levels and showed leaner body mass. Also, one B vitamin in particular, B5, has been shown to be linked with reducing cortisol levels. But a good B complex is just overall going to be great for your body. And then vitamin C is one of those vitamins that our adrenal glands likes to store up, and it seems to wane throughout the day, our vitamin C. So taking a good time-release vitamin C, about 1,000 milligrams a day, will help lower your cortisol levels. Another way to do this is to stay hydrated throughout the day. So getting water into our cells and getting our cells hydrated is just going to help overall with hormonal balance and helping us feel good and less anxious. So nice way to hydrate yourself if you aren't getting enough water is to make sure, or a way to think about it is at least try to drink half your body weight in ounces of water a day, and then drink it in small increments throughout the day so that you're not doing it all at once so your body doesn't get dehydrated because you can only absorb so much at one time. So making sure that you're getting in a little throughout. And then practice relaxation techniques. So doing yoga, walking in the woods, go sit by a river, whatever you need to do to relax the mind. Maybe it's praying, maybe it's reading the good book, maybe it's just talking with somebody, a good friend. And so whatever you need to do something that's relaxing or self-care, like a massage, getting a pedicure, just doing something that makes your mind not have to think about what you're going through. Interestingly, a study in 2011 from the University of California at San Francisco found overweight and obese women lost fat on their midsections after participating in a mindfulness program for 4 months. And this makes sense because cortisol receptors are 4 times higher in the fat around the midsection than any other fat throughout the body. So really important to practice your mindfulness techniques. You may actually decrease that midsection belly fat when you do so. And then time your workouts. So it's been shown that workouts in the evening actually cause higher levels of cortisol. And what do we want to do with cortisol in the evening? We want to reduce that cortisol level in the evenings. I'm not saying you have to stop working out in the evening if that's the only time of day you have, but just know that if you're not going to sleep and you're not losing weight, then you may need to reconsider what time of day you're working out. Working out in the morning is best for that cortisol curve because it's going to help increase that cortisol in the morning when you need it the most. And then by the evening, you're starting to, go into a more restful evening and sleep. All right, relieving stress with adaptogens. I have to say that I've been taking adaptogens now for over 8 years. And adaptogenic herbs, if you want to think about them like a thermostat in the body, they work to upregulate hormones in the body or downregulate hormones in the body based on your internal thermostat. And so adaptogens are herbs that are found in Ayurvedic medicine. They've been used in China for thousands of years. And the cool thing about adaptogens is if you're out in the area of the world where adaptogens, some of them are grown, is that you would find that these adaptogens are the only plants that are surviving in climates that are really, really hard to survive in. And because of their ability to adapt and survive in hard climates, then that's exactly what they're trying to do in our body when we take them. And so there are specific adaptogenic herbs that are better than others. And the ones that I really like are the ones found in the Isogenics Ionic Supreme. And so let me just stop my sharing here for a second so I can show you a little bit closer. This product I've been taking for 8 years, and it has 7 adaptogenic herbs in them. And some of the ones that are specific to helping with stress is like Siberian ginseng and ashwagandha and rhodiola and erythro root, which is Siberian ginseng. But anyways, these particular adaptogens are super helpful in regulating that cortisol curve, helping with fighting fatigue and allowing your body to adapt to stress a lot better and up or down regulate hormones depending on your hormones being out of whack or not. I love to take this at night before bed because I do believe that there are days when I have a inverted cortisol curve where my cortisol levels are too high at night and I can't seem to go to sleep. So when I take the adaptogenic herbs that are in Ionic Supreme, so specifically I believe it's the Siberian ginseng and the ashwagandha that are helping me, but it does help me go into a nice restful sleep. Literally within 5 to 10 minutes of taking 1 scoop of this in a warm tea, I'm lights out. And so that brings me to the very last point in the PowerPoint, and that is sleep and the importance of sleep on the body and why we really, really need to get our sleep exactly where it needs to be. And research has shown that even if you go 2 weeks where you're supposed to be getting 8 hours of sleep, but you're now getting 6, that cortisol levels will creep up there just within a 2-week time period. And you'll get that inverse cortisol curve. So really putting a lot of emphasis on quality sleep. And sleep is going to be your biggest indicator of whether or not you're doing good on your cortisol curve. So if your sleep is 8 hours of restful sleep, you wake up refreshed, and then you go throughout the day, and by the end of the evening, you're really tired and you're ready for bed, then you know you're doing an awesome job with regards to your cortisol curve. But if you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm so dead, I'm not refreshed at all, and throughout the day you're just dragging, and then by the time you're ready for bed, you're just wired and you can't seem to go to bed, well, then you know that something is off. And going back to those steps that we talked about and refocusing on relaxation techniques, supplementing properly, carb cycling, exercising in the morning again, and then trying to get that routine right before bed cemented so that you can have a good night of sleep. So maybe your routine will be taking Ionic Supreme right before bed, meditating, praying, writing down gratitudes, relaxing, however you need to go into a nice restful sleep, and then making sure that you are sleeping for 8 hours. Some people don't know how well they sleep throughout the night, so maybe you have a Fitbit and you can wear that and it will tell you exactly how your sleep cycle is. That's kind of cool. I don't have one, but I know a lot of people that do and can tell exactly how well they're doing with their sleep. So if you want to get one, that would be kind of fun. Also, just making sure, like I mentioned earlier with caffeine, is cutting that off at a certain time so that you aren't getting that caffeine that's still cycling through your body. And so that at night you're still actually dealing with some caffeine in your system. Because if you're older, like me, I'm 41, and you're getting along in the years, your kidneys don't function the way they used to when you were in your 20s. And so you actually reabsorb a lot of caffeine throughout the day, and it takes about 8 hours to get half of that caffeine out of your body. So just know that if you drink caffeine midday, then you're still going to have at least half of that caffeine by the time you go to bed at night still in your system. So that's why a cup in the morning is fine, but then cut that off. The older you get, the less likely you are to metabolize that out of your system quicker. All right, guys, that is all I have for you tonight. I hope you have a good, restful night's sleep. And going forward, thinking about doing the proper supplementing and sleeping and relaxing and the things you need to do to help with your stress response curve so that you actually do get a restful night's sleep, which will then lead to lots of other productive, amazing things to happen in your life so that you can go forth and live an abundant, awesome life. So I wish you all well and good night.